It's Craiggie's Connacht Rugby Podcast. Connacht have just been fairly eviscerated in the high veld in Pretoria by the Bulls, 53 points to 27. Yeah, which wasn't, which meant, well, on the positive, and you know me, I was like a positive. We were 100% when we get into there 22, which is always good to see.
It's hard to get into their 22 when the penalties were reversed, though,
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to come to before we talk about anything else. That just wasn't good enough, really, was it, Rob?
No, you'll hear the press conference. We've just done it, and maybe there'll be a bit more clarity on it. A lot of people were just confused. It looked like the referee was looking at JJ Hanrahan when he said, no, too much shout out to you. He pointed directly to him, as far as I'm concerned, and what I could see in the pictures. Keelan Blade inquired what it was about, and he said you were, I think, looking for a sin bin in that situation, or looking for a deliberate knock-on in that situation. At the end of the day, that's not good, and you'll hear Pete Wilkins on it. We can talk about it maybe a little bit more at the end if we need to, but any sort of chatter in that situation, even if the referee's picked that one out of the blue, as sometimes referee will, and it'll frustrate you, because why has he suddenly come up with this now? But my gut instinct wasn't to say that. My gut instinct is going, what are you saying to him in that situation when you've got a dream scenario?
Yeah, apparently Jack had a proper go at him about the disallowed try, and then some other players had been at him.
This was building.
It was building over time. I was just sort of going back over
fair point,
it there.
yeah.
So, that's not good enough. You can't. It was one of the questions I asked Andy Brace during the week when we were at the EPCR launch, and Andy Brace came and sat with us and was really good, really eloquent, and
I'm looking forward to that. But you have more of that. Yeah, that's going to be great.
And there was some stuff we did off the record with him as well. He was actually so engaged, and he spoke to us another 10 minutes after the.
Well, that's brilliant.
Switched off.
The passion for his job is what
exactly,
we want,
and that's exactly what came across, was the passion and the fact that there's lines you have to draw on with the players. I
like Ganaki. I think he's a really, really good ref. I like the way he referees the game. One thing I heard Jack Hardy saying, listen, we're seeing a replay here. This is on the disallowed try from S Sports South Africa or whatever, Star Sports South Africa or whatever. But Jack needs to, I think there was too much coming from Jack there. And sometimes he's incredibly good with the ref. I'll let William in here now, but maybe that was a bit much. Now that you say it, that stuff was building and building.
Yeah.
But at the same time, individually, JJ's only on the pitch for a little while. If it was him, I'm pretty certain it was. It's an awful mistake from him, because he's got a job to do, and he seemed to be doing his job. I don't know, William, you want to take in there?
Yeah, I think the Jack Carty situation is slightly different, because I think what he was saying was they're not showing this replay, and I think the referee was poor there, because I think the TMO was very slow. The try had been scored and the conversion was about to be kicked. And eventually somebody somewhere said, we better look at this. But maybe I thought Jack was polite enough there, and he was pointing out, as we know, that home television companies don't show replays.
But the TMO is looking at their own pictures. They
was my point.
They don't depend on the TV, on the.
I thought Jack would know that at this stage. I know the fan mind, but do you think maybe you're saying, look, he was being polite and he was just pushing his case.
The point is, I think if he hadn't pushed his case, we wouldn't have seen it. That's my.
I don't know, because it was not the TMO who came back. No, I wasn't hearing that. So
we weren't hearing that. So it's one of those things. The situation later on. Look, forget looking about yellow cards. Just kick the damn ball into the corner, and see if you can get a sneaky bonus point out of the game.
Yeah, because I don't know if I've said it, but Connacht were 100% out of their entries into the 22 with scoring. So the chances were they were going to get a score, and they had come back, and they looked very strong at the end.
Yeah, they did. Well, I think the Bulls had switched off and got on the bus and decided that this was done.
Well, they got almost their average, didn't they? They score an average of 58 points against European sides. In 2 seasons, or close enough to that, so they were just about at their average and haven't lost to a European side.
Yeah, and it'll be a long time before they do at that ground. It's they're so proud about playing there. Johannesburg is a harder place to play, but the Lions aren't as good as the Bulls. That's the simple fact of it. Yeah. It's higher altitude, and the whole setup there is unpleasant with where the ground is located. But the Bulls, that's a serious performance from them.
It is. Okay, let's hear what Let's hear Rob's interview with Pete Wilkins in the post-match press conference.
Pete Wilkins, after a really disappointing defeat, obviously, for your group, conceding a lot of scores in the end, the Bulls just proving too strong for you.
Yeah, I think we would have been happy to come out in that encounter with a losing bonus point if we got that fourth try that we were looking for, pushing pretty hard for at the end. I don't think you'd ever be satisfied with the defeat, but I think we would have felt that it would have helped the processing of it all a little bit more. I don't think we played our best rugby in the first half and probably spoon-fed the Bulls a few too many opportunities, which, they're a class team and they'll certainly make you pay. Second half, I thought we played some of our best rugby of the season, ironically. We built up some scores from that, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it's funny because it was a brilliant start to the second half, considering how disappointing the finish was to the first half. There was a real you'll obviously take a lot from the dressing room, what you had said you wanted to do. You went through 3-4 minutes with the ball, got the penalty, got the score. During that sin bin that followed, though, that seems to be where the game, a chance of maybe you were 12 points down, that seems to be a pivotal moment in the game, doesn't it? They just got the next score and you couldn't get your hands on the ball for long enough to really make the extra man count.
Yeah, I think that's a fair observation. I think, if we build a bit of momentum there were, probably about 3 different times in the game where we said if we get the next score, we think we're going to have the momentum to build on, and probably didn't quite get it at the right time. So, I do think that's a factor. I think first half as well, we probably lost our way a little bit. I think, our kicking game was okay. Bulls kicked it back probably a little bit longer, and we probably lost a little bit of faith with our process in terms of just staying on task. And we had a good chat about that at half time, and we said we back our game to break down the Bulls' defence, and we just needed to get back to it. So I was pleased with the response after half time. There were errors, particularly in that first half, and I think that will happen under fatigue. You get skill execution errors, you get decision-making errors, and there's certainly no blame for that. That's part of coming to these environments, but what you do have to do is stay on task and keep playing your game. So I think once we got back to that, we actually had something to build on and generated some momentum.
The restart seems to be a little bit of an issue at times. Do you feel it is, or do you feel like you're not getting enough of an exit when they do restart?
Look, I think if you spill a restart or put yourself under unnecessary pressure, I think it stands out. It's a glaring sort of moment in the game for everyone to see. So, certainly for us, there was one we obviously spilled in terms of catching in the air. There was another one we probably put ourselves under a bit too much pressure, backtracking to try and catch it, and then you get a poorer kick on the back of it, which gives the Bulls an opportunity. So look, it's something we're practicing hard on. It's something that individuals are working on, both in terms of forwards and backs. But, you don't want to give teams access points in that facet of the game.
What was your view of what happened at the very end there? Because obviously you have a small opportunity, not a small opportunity, a big opportunity to go to the corner and get a bonus point, which would have been huge. What have you heard happen? What did you see happen?
Yeah, well, initial sort of inquiries, we were awarded the attacking penalty, that breakdown out on the right, and we were told we had advantage, and Caelan Blade was saying clearly to the referee that we'd like to take the penalty and kick to the corner, and play was allowed to continue, and then it got to that stage where there's a knock-on the far edge, and one of our players, I understand, appealed for the deliberate knock-on and was penalised for making that appeal. So, it's disappointing from us. We shouldn't be appealing for penalties, regardless of the circumstance. But I would have liked to think that we could have just banked that penalty and kicked to the corner and had a go from 5 metres out. So, I'll dig into that in terms of what our messaging to the referee was on both occasions, and perhaps what the referee's response was when we were saying we wanted to stop the play. But as I said, we've got to earn the right, and at the end of the day, we were chasing it in the dying embers of the game, and probably left ourselves too much to do to get that fourth try.
Yeah, it's still a missed opportunity. It'll sit bad with people. Reverse penalties always sit bad. Like for the observers, they're always going to go, "Don't speak." I mean, is it that simple? Will you be just saying, no matter what it is, leave it to the captain, or do you have an element of sympathy when a decision comes out of the blue like that?
Well, look, I don't think it's something we can condone talking to referees, under any circumstances. If it's something that's going to draw that kind of response and that kind of penalty, of course, we don't want to have that in the game, and certainly not from us. I think at the same time, I understand players' frustrations when they're at the end of a big 80-minute effort, and it was probably the frustration of us continuing to play the advantage that whoever it was tipped them over boiling point, and I think that those phases of hard work probably raised tempers when we thought, why are we not just stopping and kicking to the corner from the penalty? So look, it's something we'll look into. You don't want to be satisfied saying it's a learning opportunity, but you certainly don't want it to be repeated, and that's what I've got to make sure.
All right, so just to finish, 4 from 6 is a brilliant start. Like, I mean, I'm trying to get my own mind to say that as well, and we were saying it in the commentary because obviously a big score of 53 points, a missed opportunity, a bonus point. There's plenty of reason for Connacht fans maybe to just take this evening as a big disappointment. But you put yourselves in a really good position going into this Leinster game. Is that how you feel as you head home from South Africa?
Yeah, it's a real mix of emotions, to be honest. I think we do have to acknowledge the good start we've had to the season. I think if we'd come over here to South Africa 2 games in pretty testing conditions at this stage of the season, if we'd maybe gone home with 2 points total, I think people would have probably said, that was a reasonable return. So to be going home with the 4 points, I think is probably ahead of schedule. At the same time, we'll look for, probably missed opportunities, particularly out of this evening. And, I think the Bulls played well to deserve the win, but, for us, we would like to think we could get a point, if not 2 points out of tonight. So, as a coach, you're always looking at both sides. I think we have to acknowledge what we've done well in the context of those first, that first block of games, but at the same time, look for ways that we could have done it better. So I think there's loads to be positive about. As I said, some of the rugby we played in that last 20 to 30 minutes was as good as we've seen this season. And if we can take that through into these next 3 games with Leinster, Bordeaux, Saracens, I think, I think our fans and I think the players will be in for a lot of excitement as well.
When you look at this block of games and as a litmus test of where you want to be at the end of the season, what does this game tell you?
Well, I think it's telling me that we can still score points against very good teams away from home. I think that's going to be important, Lindley, as we progress through the rest of the season. I think it tells me we've got a group that works unbelievably hard for each other. And I don't just mean in the 80 minutes this evening. I mean in the build-up and not just training and team meetings, but all those windows around that in terms of the sharing of knowledge and the study that goes into preparing for a game. So I think in terms of that work ethic on and off the grass, we've already spoken as a group about that the impact that's had on us for the last 2 weeks, and it's important we maintain that even when we're back in Galway. So, look, I think the confidence we'll get from both those things is important, but we also recognise we're a work in progress, and if we can keep improving, over the next 3 weeks, and then there's Interpros leading up to the start of January, and then keep improving in the new year. We'll be some team by the back end of the season, but we've got to keep working hard to earn the right to do that.
When you say the back end of the season, does that mean that you're really looking to next season to continue this growth, because the back end might be a bit too late to win any honours?
No, I don't think it's too late at all. I think we've had a good. I think we've had a good start to the season. 4 wins from 6 is probably above most people's expectations, and we're not satisfied with it. We think we could have got more out of the first 6 games. So, everyone wants to get in that top 8 and play URC finals rugby. Everyone wants to make a splash in the Champions Cup as well. So, I feel we're on track this season. I think every team in the competition at this stage will be targeting ongoing growth and further improvement.
Yeah, interesting stuff there from Pete. Always looking for the positive, and I know where he's coming from. Life's there to be lived. But Connacht have dropped down to 7th. If they'd got that losing bonus point, they'd be 4th, even with a couple of games to be played. That could be huge later on in the season, because everyone's taking points off everybody these days. A couple of great results for Connacht last night, with Edinburgh losing to Benetton and the Stormers losing to Cardiff, and they didn't pick up on it. And the simple thing like not getting that bonus point at the end could be a real killer, William.
Yeah, it could be. Third of the way through the season now. The next 3 URC games are all very losable. Leinster at home, Ulster away, Munster at home. You'll really make the judgment on where they are in the URC when those 3 have been played. That's going to tell you where they are. They're 4-2 at the minute, which is a good ratio. If they came out of the next... It'll really depend. Look, it's very simple. After next Saturday night, they'll be 4-3, or they'll be 5-2, and there's a big difference between 5-2 and 4-3.
They've only got 2 bonus points, and that's a bigger issue. Having said that, Benetton have got none. Edinburgh only have 2, and Ulster only have 2. So maybe bonus points aren't as big an issue as they have been in previous times.
It's about winning your home games. Jake White said that during the week. This is becoming a competition that you have to aim. They could go 100% at home, the Bulls. They could be 9 out of 9.
Well, they did last year. Well, no, they didn't, because they lost to the Stormers and the Sharks at home.
Yeah, that's the key. Their inter-pro games, if you want to call them that, are serious games. But Connacht now, the URC gets much harder for the next 3 games. And in the meantime, out of that, there's also 4 European games to play. So it's that part of the season. The bite is on now, and just the performance today I thought was a bit poor, really. There was a lot of errors. Some of them were forced, some of them weren't. Some of the decision making was a bit off. Allowing for the conditions, the heat and not the humidity, the heat and the altitude. And it's a big challenge. And next Saturday night now is massive. And I think it's not going to define the season, but I think it'll give you a good steer in the season to see how they do against Leinster. Yeah.
But coming back to game, I'm always looking for to be optimistic about certain things. I'd say the biggest thing we got from that game, from my point of view, was that Sean O'Brien really is the business.
Yeah.
Because he came on and just changed the dynamic. In the first half, Connacht looked tired as they went onto the field and just got beaten up all the way through the half. Never really got on the front foot. But Sean O'Brien comes on and just changes the whole dynamic. And all of a sudden, Connacht were getting on the front foot and got their first try based on about 2 or 3 carries that he had made throughout that session of 3 or 4 minutes of solid play. So that's at least something to look at.
No, I think it is. I think there's a couple of things there. I think Niall Murray was very good as well. But like Sean is the point you want to make because he's new and there's a fresh kind of vibe. Janssen didn't play as well. Look at me going negative then. But like maybe it's just worth noting.
It's a hell of an ask to play your first game in about 5 months to
and
play at altitude against the Bulls.
And also he didn't get, and maybe Janssen would have thrived with that much better start to the second half in the exact same position, getting front foot ball. So I was getting to that point. I was going to bring it back to positive. Don't worry. But I think there was that, and I think I was kind of going through some of the backs. I just think Tiernan O'Halloran's in a better place in terms of his form. I don't want to oversell it, but it's just great to see him there. He's such a great reader of the game and such a leader of that backline, so that's really encouraging. Kilgallen scores another try, 11 and 20. That's a positive. Hawkshaw looked good. He's very interchangeable. And he's doing well in terms of you can slot him in lots of different positions.
Well, yeah, it's his first start at 13.
And I wasn't sure about Riley and Carty in the first half, but as you point out, those first 10, 12 minutes, second half, they were both really, really instrumental in the front football. Look, Riley is a good bit off blade at the moment, but we need him to push him. We need him to play well.
Yeah,
he needs game time.
We need him to play that 10-minute slot. He played very well, but we need him to have that more and more and more if he really is going to challenge. Because Blady come on and again did what I think he's the best scrum half, certainly in Ireland and for the most part in Europe, coming off the bench with 15, 20 minutes to go and just changing the game, and he did it again.
Yeah, but he's not interested in that. He wants to start. If he's not starting, he doesn't get called up by Ireland. So I think he'll be starting a lot of rugby again very soon.
So, yeah.
There are question marks over Jack Carty. I don't think his overall performance, you can't play well for 10 minutes.
No. But when he was taking the ball to the line, when he chipped over the top, when he changed his game, rather than just distributing and actually went and
why wasn't he doing that earlier then?
Well, that's the point. That's what I'm saying. That he has to look at that and go, well, I need to do this earlier in the game.
Yeah.
And the same because when JJ came on, he definitely attacked the line and definitely put more pressure on the opposition.
Yeah, so I think he's lacking in confidence, and I think maybe having JJ Hanrahan there is a bit of an issue for him. I don't know. I still think he has a hell of a lot to offer, but I don't know the captaincy situation. I don't know whether he enjoys being captain or not, but I'm wondering if you took that off him and just said, just go and play.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of captains in that side.
Yeah.
We saw Conor Oliver captained well last week. Caelan Blade seems to enjoy it. I think Joe Joyce could do it. I really do.
Yeah.
And I'm not. That's not criticising Jack. I'm just wondering, is that too much in the mix?
I don't know. I've never been a fan of my 10 being my captain ever, because for whatever reason in Ireland the 10 has to kick every penalty and then has to kick the penalties at goal, and I'm going, you don't have to be the 10 that does that, but it appears to be an Irish thing that the 10 has to be the kicker.
But most sides don't have 2 kickers. We actually do.
Yes.
But then Jack's kicking today off the tee was good. That conversion was fabulous.
Oh, it was incredible.
That's a difficult thing to do. I think there's big pressure on him for next week. Leinster
it would be his 200th appearance if he does make it.
If he does make it, yeah. So that's a big decision for them. It's a sold-out sports ground, but Leinster are used to playing in grounds like that. It doesn't faze them, you would think. But then they're playing Munster tonight, then they have La Rochelle the following week. So do they come slightly under strength? Are Leinster ever under strength? Yeah, these days maybe they are a little. It's they've got big decisions to make as well, but the Connacht really need to win that game. They really do in front of that sort of a crowd. It'll be the biggest crowd of the season. I don't think they'll sell out Bordeaux. They might sell out Bristol.
They'll probably sell out Munster on New Year's Day.
I hope they do. Especially as it's
the Munster fans like to travel as well.
Especially as it's 3:00 on a Monday afternoon.
And people have been fed up over Christmas and they want to get out. And assuming the weather is only half decent, we should have a full.
Yeah,
it's the only other one that will sell out probably.
But the pressure next week. We'll know an awful lot more about this side after next week. If Leinster roll into town and do a number on us, then you would start to say, okay, it's getting harder, and it is getting harder because. In the URC, it's Leinster followed by Ulster away, followed by Munster at home. That's as tough as it gets.
Yeah, it's a very typical start to season when Connacht are in a decent place. That's what this is. They're in a decent place in a typical start to season. But what happens usually now is the high quality teams like Leinster, maybe Bordeaux with their big spending, certainly Saracens and Bulls today in the high veld. All those things coming together are usually times when Connacht are going to just fall a little bit short. That's what happened today. I think the problem today...
I wouldn't put the Bulls in that category. They win all their games at the high veld.
No, but what I'm saying is when Connacht come up against the big forces,
the
Bulls are in that category at home.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is they came up against Bulls. It's like playing Leinster anywhere because of the amount of advantage they have there. So this is a different level. So what I want to see from Connacht in these games isn't results necessarily. It's less mistakes than we had today, less sloppiness. I want to see more of regrouping like they did after halftime, which shows great character and gives me great hope. And I want to see the regrouping that saw them get the try at the end and set themselves up for a bonus point. None of that discipline issue going forward. If I see that next week, I'll be happy enough. So I think that's the story of the game.
And if you look at next week, we're talking about having the likes of McHanson's going to be back.
Yeah.
You're talking Tom Farrell, it'll probably be on the field again.
Jared Butler.
Jared Butler is going to be there, who will be huge.
Yeah, competition for place is quite good, actually.
It is, yeah.
Despite the fact that we were well beaten.
Yeah, Paul Boyle could be coming back, because we chatted to him during the week and he was very positive about how well he was going in pre-season before he broke his wrist.
No one, including Janssen, based on what we said earlier, no one today has completely played themselves out of the team. So that's mad when you can see 53 points, because I think we're taking this fairly in context. Just really annoyed about that back chat. I don't like back chat.
Yeah. It was pretty brutal. Okay, I'll tell you what, folks. It's been a hell of a long week for myself and William, and Rob's just flown in from London today.
I know.
So we're all pretty shattered, and there's not an awful lot more to talk about in this game. So we're going to leave it there. We'll be back with you during the week and build up to the Leinster game. Except that Rob has something.
I have something to say.
Go.
There is so much amazing coverage on this feed on patreon.com/Craggy Rugby. It's a $5 plus VAT. Plus VAT, that's the way they do it. Get over it. It's like 2 cups of coffee a month, and you're getting sensational audio. The stuff the lads got over in London is brilliant. Like that access to Andrew Brace. Loads more to come. The press conference stuff this week, I think Scott Fardy was really, really good. Actually, just really interested in him. And then Pete Wilkins, more and more I listen to him, the more information and insight he's given us without giving away the crown jewels. It's brilliant. You're both doing a great job on that. That's not about you guys, though. It's about the access we're having. So, look, great. We put a lot of work in what we do here. Big thanks to everyone, TG Carr as well, that helps the Galway Bay side of things. Yeah, fair play. You can say the thanks to that.
I still love that big screen. I was saying to Jason today, who was our technician today, last week I was looking at it going, oh, they look like a couple of dead pixels, because I could see a couple of dead pixels on the screen, and I was about to sort of bring up Neil, who's my buddy from TG Carr, and say, I think your screen is gone. But when I went back to look at the game, as I always do, I go home and look at the game.
It was
again.
their coverage.
The pixels were on my screen as well, and I realised it was a camera issue, not a TV, because it's a phenomenal TV.
Yeah, all that stuff matter. But look, we put a lot of work. We're a tiny rugby team. They're punching above our weight, and as you can imagine, it works the same trying to be the media team that covers. So you support us, and we'll keep this coming. And let other people know we're out there. Pass it on. Thanks, folks. We really do appreciate the people who do pay. Oh my God, do we appreciate you guys? Absolutely. Absolutely. Some amazing audio coming your way. That's it, folks. Loose, cut it loose. Break out or nothing changes. Sad and confused.